Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Elevate Your Life podcast. We are doing episode number 108 today, Cheryl.
108. We're almost to 200, Paul.
Well,
Almost to
listen,
200.
Cheryl, let's not get crazy here because we need to take some time for self care.
Oh, so
Okay, we need to take a
thank
pause here.
you. That
We need
has
to
really become
recharge.
kind of a buzzword. It's
It
kind
is a
of a
buzzword, yeah.
buzzword.
And I know
And I
you
love
being a
that.
mom, you got all these demands on you from husband wants all this, kids want all this, the rest of the world wants all this. You got your business partner calling you with wanting this or that all the time. So it's just constant bombardment of people wanting things from you, needing things from you. And
Yeah.
it's super important. And I know, Cheryl, you're big on this. Like, I got to take care of myself. Like, and it's not a selfish thing to do that.
No.
Maybe just speak on that for a little bit because I really see a lot of women, especially putting everybody else in front of them, not taking care of themselves, and then the whole thing goes south.
Well, and I think what happens is we just continue to give and give and give and give and give. And if you are not refilling your tank, then pretty soon you get to a point where there's nothing else to give. And then it starts depleting you even more and more and more, and it turns into high stress levels. It turns into um you know really crazy things happening. I have a friend who this kind of happened to her, and she didn't take any time for self-care or whatever, and guess what, Paul? Her hair started falling out
Wow.
because of how much stress she was under. And
Yeah.
so I think that it can be all sorts of different things can start to happen. And I think something else that's really important, you guys, is we might not even realize it, right? So it's super important to take that step back and really think about, and everybody's different, right? So everybody likes to kind of do something that they love for self-care. Like Paul, my big thing is I love a massage. I just have to say it. I really feel recharged and renewed when I get that massage, right? So there's a bunch of different ways to do it. So I'm excited today to talk about like why it is so important, but then also some of the things that we can do to really make a difference for ourselves, right? I mean, it's just, I think, become even more important over the last couple of years when we've gone through all of these crazy things.
Yeah. So, Cheryl, let's talk about why self care is so important. Like, why should
Yeah.
we even talk about this?
Well, here's the deal. So everything that is going on, everything we want to accomplish, you guys, everything we have to accomplish every single day, it just simply requires energy. So we have to have the energy to put forth to make all of these different things happen, right? And so it's just, that's why self-care is so important, again, to recharge and to make sure that you have enough energy to do the things that you need to do every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. And we see so many people we talk to every day. Number one problem, I'm tired. I'm exhausted.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to talk about burnout. So the next thing is to avoid burnout, and it's the burnout comes from like physical burnout, where we see people just working out too hard or actually having a physical overdoing it physically, and then mental burnout, like you just doing so many hours of work or whatever in a row that's caused whatever stress is in your life is causing the mental burnout. And then, of course, the emotional burnout that people are experiencing, Cheryl, is at an all-time high.
Yeah, it really is. And I think I think, Paul, that it's, you can kind of realize this when you're like, oh my gosh, I need more caffeine to help me get through the day. And then you have more and more and more, and it's still not working. You're still exhausted. And Paul, I think it's so fascinating that it's not just physical, it's not just mental, it can be emotional, it can be mental, it can be physical. And the problem is that when one starts going, then the other starts, then the other starts, and
Yep.
pretty soon you're like completely depleted in all areas of your life. And that's when I really believe that different diseases and sickness can really set in.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to talk about that in a moment here when we talk about self care. But Cheryl, what I'm seeing is that under the emotional thing area of burnout, people they're having these emotions of anger more than ever, and stress and anxiety and these, these, we're going to call them just weak negative emotions,
Yeah.
instead of the strong emotions of love, joy, and peace that we get from really working on our spiritual lives.
Right. That's such a big deal, right? Because if we're not conscientious of that, aware of that, and specifically working on that, like we do in the Magic Morning, Paul. I mean, I think it's super important that we are working specifically um, to to first be aware that we're not feeling that way, or if we are, great, and keep feeling that way, because things come up all the time during the day, and I'm like, what am I feeling? Love, joy, and peace.
Yeah.
If not, quickly get back to that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And, I mean, so just for our listeners to, we have transparency here. We're doing this podcast a lot for ourselves here today. This we can talk a good game, but
Yeah.
Cheryl, what percentage of your day of your life are you all in 100% love, joy, and peace?
I think, Paul, I'm really getting it now. So I'm right at about 1 to 2%. Oh my gosh, it might be a little more than that, but sometimes I'm not kidding you. I like feel, especially with everything going on, that I'm triggered a bit easier these days.
Yeah, everyone is.
Um,
Yeah.
to feel, to really lose those feelings of love, joy, and peace quickly,
Yeah.
right? And it's just, and again, it's becoming aware that that's happening, and then doing some things, taking those steps to get back into those feelings, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I really started looking at it as being in a strong state where I'm going for things and I'm able to do things. I have the energy to do things. And then being in a weak state where the anger or the frustration or the stress sets in. And but it's easy to get into that weak state when you're exhausted. You just feel like you can't get into that high energy peak state because you're just gone. You're totally burnt out.
Yeah, but let me, before we step into this next little part, I have to say, Paul, I that really triggers me when you said a weak state. Okay, first of all, I don't even like the word weak at all. Like,
Right.
it really, it starts getting me like, ugh.
Yeah.
So how interesting that you would call that a weak state, like the anger and because to me that seems a lot of times like it's a more forceful, it's a more forceful emotion, or a stronger emotion. But really what we're saying is that love, joy, and peace is the strongest emotions that you can feel, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I hate the word
That's
weak too. That's
amazing.
why I specifically picked that word because I don't
Oh,
want to
I
be in a
like
weak
it.
place. I want to be in a
No.
strong place, and
Yeah.
to make this
That's
really simple. But let's talk
amazing.
about how to
Yeah.
get in that strong place. So Cheryl, we came up with an acronym,
I
which
love
we
it.
both love,
Yeah.
and it's for self-care. So there's 8 letters, and we're going to go through those 8 letters, and each one of the letters stands for something you can do for elevating your self-care. So Cheryl, the S in self-care stands for.
Sleep.
This is one of your
Oh my
favorite
gosh.
things.
And let me tell you, I love sleep myself, and I like 9 hours of sleep. And Paul tells me all the time I only need 7, but I love 9 hours of good quality sleep. But seven is okay. And I'll tell you, it's so important for kids too. I'm finding that with my kids who are teenagers now. They really, when they get that sleep, they're a whole different person, right?
Yeah.
So super
Well, we see
important.
people even with 9 hours sleep still being tired. So I know we both wear the Aura ring and track our sleep to make
Yes.
sure that it's quality sleep. Because I've seen even with myself where if I'm getting the 2 hours of deep sleep a night, even if I'm only getting 6 or 6.5 hours of sleep, I'm a rock star because that deep recovery sleep is there. But I have tons of clients that are getting 10 minutes of deep sleep a night. So
Oh,
it doesn't really matter how long you sleep, you're just never really recovering. And then,
Yeah.
of course, we take the HGH capsules before we go to bed. That helps tremendously with not only my quality of sleep, but the way I feel in the morning. Because a lot of times I'd wake up in the morning, I'm still exhausted from yesterday. But whenever I get the deep sleep and take those HGH capsules, I feel fantastic.
Yeah, that's super important. Another one that's really important is just the consistency of going to bed at a certain time and then getting up at a certain time.
Yeah,
Right? So,
there's a
yeah.
lot of research on this. Just getting that rhythm going in your life where you're going. This time I go to bed. This time I get up, and so it's super important to try to keep that consistent all the time. That will really improve your feeling of overall energy.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Okay, so let's talk about the E. The E is next. So we've got the acronym for self-care. The E is exercise. And we both think that's so important, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, we were just finishing up designing the HCCC, the health coaching course 2.0, and going through doing all the research on the different health problems because we're literally out there solving 900 different health problems, and it almost every single one had exercise listed on it. I mean, exercise basically fixes everything, and for me especially, Cheryl, and I'm going to venture to say that the same for you, that if I don't do it, things go sideways fast for me. Like it really, like there's stress, and then there's things I do to combat the stress. And if I'm not doing this side, then the stress adds up too much, and that pushes me into burnout. So I do the exercise, and we're going to mention a bunch of other things that if I don't do these things, then all these things that we're going to talk about today counteract stress.
Right.
If you do these things, because people always say, well, just have less stress in your life. Well, okay, super. That's a great idea, Sherlock. But it doesn't, no one's ever explained to me how to do that. You can't
Right.
just, boot everybody out of your life and quit your job and everything else to have less stress. So you got to deal with.
Hmm.
She was like, let's just jump on a plane and
Yeah. Let's just run. That's kind
run.
of been my modus operandi in the past, which just can't happen. But yeah. Oh my gosh. So exercise absolutely 30 minutes a day. And then you guys get outside too, because that's really gonna help as you're exercising or really just going out for a walk, stepping
Yeah, 30
into
minute walks
nature.
is a place to start at. I mean, you do that
It's huge.
consistently every day, totally recharges you.
Awesome. So let's talk about the L in self-care. And I love this one, Paul. It's like one of my favorite ones. I think for both of us that it's laughing. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, there's so many health benefits from laughing. What are a couple of them?
Yeah, well, so we both so one of our best friends is Derek Richards. He's a comedian. I love going to see different comedians live. Like when you're looking for something to do like on a night out, and I don't know, we always kind of forget about that. But we have it here in the area. Most areas have some kind of comedy club, and every time we go, like it's the best time ever. It's just so great to get out and spend an evening of laughter. And there's tons of recorded ones on Netflix and Prime and all the other things out there that, if you're going to watch TV, boy, you just go watch one of the comedy acts, and it's just so good for you. So what it does, it number one relieves pain. This is the next. So Cheryl did some extensive research on this because she was like, laughing, Paul, like that's really self care. So she did a ton of research on this. And number
I
two,
love
Cheryl, which I know is was really interesting to you, is that increases your chance of getting pregnant.
it. Yeah.
And I was like, really, like that is something I would have never guessed in 100 years. So there's a study in 2011 that showed women going through pregnancy problems were 16% more likely to get pregnant when entertained by a clown than those who were not having these encounters with clowns.
Now, I wonder how they got this study, Paul. So did they have like a group of women over here and a clown came in and like made them laugh or whatever? And then this one, no clown. And so we figure out that 16% are more likely to get pregnant with the clown.
Yeah, now
Huh.
Yeah. So I don't know if they're having sex with the clown or what exactly is
No,
happening
Paul.
at these.
Oh, for heaven's sakes. The clown is making them laugh.
Yeah. Well,
Nothing to do with
something's
that.
going on that yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. What?
But what the whole point of this is, and what I find is fascinating, is the link between mental health and physical health.
You bet.
You know, we always say that we truly believe the number one cause of cancer is negative emotions. But negative emotions can also prevent you from getting pregnant and a whole list of other things, of problems it causes.
Right.
So it's super, super important to get that laughter in because it's going to put you in the right emotional state, and everything else seems to just work when you do that. Because it helps your
Yeah.
heart, it boosts your immune system, makes you happier, reduces stress, relaxes your body. I mean, it's just go to a comedy club. That's our advice for you today. The other piece of advice, Cheryl, that I want to give to people is the F, which is floating. So I go to a float spa. I make it a habit to go like twice a month. So every couple of weeks I go to a float spa. So this is something called a deprivation tank. So you literally go into this room or pod, and there's no lights, no music, no iPhone, no computer, no
No phone.
iPad, no nothing. I mean, you by yourself, and you float on top of the water in like, I don't know, 1,700 pounds of magnesium or something that's in the water. So it's and the magnesium itself relaxes you, but to unplug, and it sounds crazy for just an hour, what difference is that going to make? But I mean, more and more and more, I'm hearing like I saw an interview with Steph Curry the other day. Like they interviewed him, like, why you have such a successful career? Like, what is it that in your routine that you do that makes you so successful? And he's like, well, I float every day. And they're like, float every day? Like, what the heck is that? And then more and more athletes are coming out and talking about the benefits that they're experiencing from floating. And it's really, something you can go do. It's an hour for yourself. It's taking care of yourself. And like an hour of floating is worth like 4 hours of sleep. So as soon as I heard that, I'm like, oh, I'm definitely on to this. And I feel like a new person every time I go. So it's absolutely fantastic.
Okay, Paul. I've never done that yet.
I
I
know.
should,
Well, I
I should
bought you
look at
gift
that.
certificates and everything. I've been trying to get you to go, and
I
I have to
know.
fly out to DC and take you myself now.
I know. I'm kind of like I'm a slow learner, Paul. I'm a
Yeah,
slow learner.
I'm afraid you're gonna like self implode in an hour of self deprivation because I'm not even sure you've
Well,
ever even had 5 minutes of being unplugged from things. So because you
no,
got a
I
million
haven't.
million things going. I have to go to a float spa after leaving your house, just because of all the things going on there, and I'm
But
only there a
you might have
week.
said the magic word. You might have said the magic word there in Steph Curry because we were just talking. My kids were just talking about him last night. So maybe I'm going to go try it now.
There you go. See, got
I
someone on this
mean,
podcast.
and hey, if that makes you a better athlete, I'm all for it, right?
Yeah,
Maybe I'll win my tennis match
yeah,
if I go float. So let's just think about that. Now, let me talk for a minute about the next one. So the C in self care, got a little acronym going here. The C is for cold plunge.
yeah.
Now, I do love a good cold plunge. I like to do it at 42 degrees. That's kind of intense. I was just saying I might need to warm it up a bit now because it's like a little crazy and it hurts like the dickens. Like my fingers hurt so bad when I do it. Like just at the start until everything freezes and then you're fine. But the benefits of cold plunging, I mean, it's just like the float, right? The cold plunging, it just has, and I think we did another podcast
Yeah,
on
we did a
cold,
whole
right?
podcast on
Yeah,
cold plunging, so go back and
right.
listen to that podcast. But Cheryl, like not only Steph Curry, but I heard Jordan Spieth yesterday talk about him and Michael Phelps were like best friends,
Oh yeah.
and they were both talking like their careers would be nothing without cold plunge. Like that
Oh
was
yeah.
their number one thing they did to recover and get ready for the next day, or the next round or next match or whatever.
Wow.
So it's just, I mean, since we've started doing the cold plunge 2 or 3 years ago, it seems like the whole world is now caught on to doing it.
Well,
Also, I mean, it just
people are
the
listening, Paul.
impact of
People are
this
listening.
podcast is just
Incredible.
unbelievable.
So let's move on then and let's talk about the A. Always take your supplements.
Yeah, big one.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's nothing better than the 90 essential nutrients. And you know what, Paul, that I love is it's the 90 essential nutrients in a way that is very doable, right? So
Yeah,
I'm not taking 90 different things. I've just got 3 things that I take every day to get my 90 essential nutrients.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're interested in learning more about this, contact Cheryl and myself. Go to Elevate Your Health or elevateyourlife.com, and you can contact us, and we'll give you a health evaluation and get you the best form of the 90 essential nutrients for you. Also, those HDH capsules I was talking about earlier. And then there's another thing, Cheryl, these mineral sticks, which I have with me at all times.
Oh yeah.
Like just as you go out through the day, you start feeling tired or worn out or whatever, and it's just you're lacking minerals. So you want to stay hydrated, but hydration enough, water alone is not enough. So adding the minerals to it that your body needs, I mean, really needs, like as in it's essential, it's critical because your body doesn't make it itself, is so important, Cheryl. And it's so easy to skip this one. I'm not going to take my supplements today. No big deal if I skip today. But it just over time that and this is all part of self care, taking care of yourself. Then all of a sudden you get sick, you catch something.
Oh yeah.
Then you're like, now you're in bed and you can't take care of anybody. You can't do anything because you didn't, I love that quote, that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So just doing that little bit of prevention every single day, is going to, help prevent any of these bad things and we could sit here all day and talk about the bad things people are experiencing health-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And so just by doing this little bit every single day is going to make a huge difference in your life.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to recharge. I mean, this is a good one.
Yeah, we had a great laugh because Cheryl just got back from a 2-week vacation.
Oh,
So I'm like, well, Cheryl, man, you must be ready to take on the world, but not always on vacation with children and family and everything is things always relaxing and recharge. I'm imagining you laying on the beach, bikini on, it's laying in the sun, just peace, ocean waves, but I think
okay.
my
Well,
mind
first
is
of
in a
all,
different place than what reality happens
let
in.
me tell you, your mind's way off because I don't even wear a bikini, Paul. Okay, that's the first thing that now. So that's you're off on that one. But yeah,
This is
but
my
you
own mind, Cheryl. Okay,
got.
I got my own visualization
Okay,
going here and vision board and all that. So,
okay, well, then you go ahead. Then you go ahead. I mean, does that help us work more? Then that's fine. Go right ahead.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
helps with my recovery. So,
Okay. Well, it really is. It really is important to go on vacation to as many times a year as you possibly can, right? It really is nice to recharge that way. I also think, Paul, for me, I've seen the biggest difference, I think, in the meditation,
yeah,
right? In meditating every single day.
yeah,
uh,
that prevents you from getting to that burnout. But even meditating every day, which I do, I still feel like I always shoot to go on vacation every 90 days. Like I love going hard. I love working hard. I have that, type A personality, but I'm also very good at unplugging and taking that week off, and I come back, and I feel super recharged and I can keep going. But if I don't do that, like, oh, I'll just skip this one and I'll go 6 months or 9 months without going, then I'm working, I'm working just as much, but I'm getting half done that I used to. I just
yeah.
become ineffective.
Yeah,
We already
absolutely.
talked about getting massage, another way to recharge your body. Um, Such a great thing to do. I try to do that at least twice a month.
That's my favorite one. That is my favorite one, to get a massage. Okay, and the E. So here we go. We
Last
are
but not
down
least,
to E. Self-care. E. Eat. Wonderful. That's all I'm saying, Paul. Just eat. No, you guys, we have to eat healthy, right? We need to eat low carb, gluten-free foods, right? Because
yeah,
that's what we feel the best. That's what gives us the most energy. And that really is true. That is when I feel the absolute best, is when I eat, well, I call it keto, but whatever. That's low carb
yeah.
and free. So that's super, super important. And what we're eating and the way we're eating, I think, makes a huge difference in the energy levels that we have. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, food is the biggest drug, most powerful drug you'll ever take because of all the effects. It produces more insulin, produces more cortisol. Like bad foods do a lot of bad things to your body, But a lot of people think, well, if I'm out recharging and and taking self care, I'm going to go have like a one of those meals I really really love, whatever your favorite food is. But whenever we eat high carb and gluten, we feel really bad afterwards, and we're not recharging our bodies. We're actually depleting our bodies of energy. So I feel like this is a huge one. To eat whenever I eat clean, which I always do, I just feel so good. So that's why I continue to do it, no matter what. So that's those are all great. It's all great advice, Cheryl, on things you can do to improve your self care. But we also want to end this podcast by giving people a couple of things to avoid that's
Yep.
causing you to not take care of yourself.
Yeah, social media is the first one, you guys. It's, the average person is on social media 2 hours and 6 minutes per day.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
just mind blowing. Well,
Yeah.
what I hear from people is they work or you're doing something and they're like, oh, I'm gonna take a little break and go check out my Instagram, and start scrolling, and they think that's a break. Yes, it's a break from the work you're doing, but your brain, when it's scrolling through that, and I forgot how many miles, like we scroll like 100 miles a day or some crazy number. So when you're scrolling, your brain's like, is this important? Is that not important? Should I like this? Should I do this? Should I comment? So you don't know this, but your brain is actually working way harder and you're expending way more energy going through social media than you did during your work when you're actually doing some productive work. So
Yeah.
it is a big drainer that people don't realize is really draining them. Another
Yeah.
drainer, Cheryl, I know, is video games. I know Justice, your son, was playing a lot at one time, and then has found tennis now and has kind of given that up. And you've seen though the drain it had on him.
Oh my gosh. Not only that, but the quick um move from love, joy, and peace to not love, joy, and peace.
Hell on
Okay.
wheels, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, but just think about it when they're playing the games that they play these days. That's exactly what's happening to a lot of kids. So just be aware of that. Parents, just be aware of what your kids are doing, and that, hey, listen, let's get them out and get them doing something, some physical activity of some sort. I think it is so beneficial for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And last but not least is watching too much TV. The average person watches 3 hours a day. So we want to
So you're
now,
scrolling two and watching three.
yeah. So that's
Wonderful.
five right there gone. And
Yeah,
I know a lot of people are listening that are like, yeah, that's me. And they come home from work, they have dinner, and then it's 7 to 10 watching TV,
yeah,
which is so bad. And I love either going into the hot tub or doing something where I'm not in front of a TV. I'm relaxing, but not with a screen in front of me. And it makes all the difference in the world in my life. So, but when we're all, if you have some plan, you want to watch Netflix, whatever, or movie, hey, an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, what here and there is great. We're not saying it's bad for you. It's just when it's 3 hours a day, 7 days a week, that's a problem, and that's just going to drain you, not replenish you. So I think we gave some great tips out to everybody, Cheryl, in this podcast. I hope people take this self care thing seriously. Like,
yeah,
I know, oh, that's just something nice to do on the side. No, this is what you got to do first and foremost. Like before
yeah.
anything else in the world, you got to do what we just told you in this podcast, because then you'll have the strength and energy to be successful in life and really be effective. I know a lot of people that make like the Warren Buffetts and Jeff Bezos and who's the Tesla guy, Elon Musk.
On Musk.
Yeah, they do all of these things because they have to make big decisions all day. They get paid to make big decisions and billion-dollar decisions they're making. And if they're not in the right place, if they're exhausted, they didn't do the self-care things, they're not able to make good decisions. And everyone's relying on that for that. So I thought it was fascinating. Even the best of the best people, take care of themselves. But we all need to do that, Cheryl.
Oh
So
yeah.
our plus one for today is that you must elevate your self-care so you can elevate your life.
Yes, and move from fine to fabulous.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, we'll see you Thursday, everybody.